The war room aboard the hegemony battleship hummed with tension. Commander Xylath's shimmering green scales dulled as he watched the battle footage again. His three remaining eyes twitched uncontrollably. The holographic display bathed the room in an eerie blue glow, reflecting the scars slashing down his face, tokens of what humans had blithely dubbed Operation Cosmic Piñata. Mad, utterly mad, Xylath muttered, clutching his nutrient-infused beverage with a trembling claw. Brilliant, terrifying, insufferably creative primates. The door hissed open, too smoothly for Xylath's liking. A seasoned commander knew better than to keep quiet doors. No human could resist a practical joke if they smelled silence. Freshly commissioned Officer Plex strode in, their bioluminescent patches flickering with enthusiasm, a clear giveaway of Academy naivete. Commander, High Command has approved our invasion of Sol 3. Humans still rely on chemical propulsion and nuclear fission for defense. High Command expects orbital superiority within 3 cycles. Plek's tendrils quivered with excitement. Xylath stared at Plek, silent for several long moments. Then he laughed. It began as a low rumble, but soon rose to an unhinged cackle, his claws scraping the table. Plek dimmed instinctively, inching backward. "Sir, are you compromised? Shall I summon medical?" "Sit." Xylath waved a claw, his tone dry as desert sands. "Plek, have you ever heard of a rubber duck?" "And what, Commander?" "Exactly." Xylath pressed a button, and the display shifted to a chaotic battle over Saturn's rings. "This is classified footage from our first encounter. Watch closely. Focus on the small yellow objects." Plek leaned in, curiosity replacing confusion. On screen, tiny yellow objects drifted into the hegemony fleet's perfect formation. Their sensors identified them as harmless. Then, music filled the war room, staying alive. The humans called them ducks. Xylath's voice dropped to a haunted whisper. "Rubber ducks," each packed with antimatter. The footage exploded into chaos as ships vanished in fireballs. And the worst part? Xylath's claws curled tighter around his beverage. "They made it funny." "But Commander," Plex stammered, "surely our technological superiority." "They turned it into a joke, Plek," Xylath barked. "A nightmare wrapped in absurdity. First contact? They sent us 16 pages of surrender terms in all 177,000 Earth languages. Our response? They replied with a song and this." He displayed an image, a feline staring at a cheeseburger. The younger officer blinked. "A peace offering? That's what our linguists argued for 3 hours. Meanwhile, a human named Dave hacked our shields with something called a PlayStation 5. The screen now showed a human vessel emblazoned with flame decals speeding toward the hegemony fleet. It vanished in a flash of FTL, directly impacting a capital ship. They called it the Old Yeet in Greek. Crew ejected in smiley face pods before impact. One hit destroyed 17 ships. Plek's tendrils drooped. "But Commander, we have numbers. Tactics. They sent glitter, Plek. Glitter. Disabled plasma weapons across half the fleet. Do you know what humans call glitter? Space herpes. It never leaves." Xylath shuddered. "And then they unleashed. Fortunate Son. On loop. Every channel." The footage shifted to chaotic maneuvers. Human ships, duct-taped and nonsensical, danced through the hegemony fleet, performing spins and dives that defied both reason and gravity. "Captain Lou of the Inferno." Xylath paused, taking a deep breath. She was humming their war anthem while barrel-rolling through our formation. "They used arts and crafts to disable us. Pencils, glue, felt." Plex squeaked. "Surely." And then, Xylath leaned closer, eyes glinting with the pale light of trauma. "They exploited our transponder codes to broadcast fake orders. Half our fleet attempted to recreate something they called Star Wars Episode 4. It ended poorly. The final footage showed the hegemony fleet in ruins, human ships zipping away unscathed. The screen went dark. "Afterwards," Xylath said, his tone hollow, "they invited us to a space kegger, offered beer pong, and something called shots. Some of our crew are still there, hosting a podcast about alien failures. Plex sat motionless, bioluminescent patches flickering weakly. So, Xylath concluded, his voice grave, if you wish to invade Sol 3, Plek, I suggest you first prepare for the humiliation of your lifetime. In the silence that followed, Plek finally croaked, permission to update High Command? Xylath's tentacles curled. Permission granted. The silence in the war room was suffocating. Commander Xylath's tail twitched nervously as he watched Officer Plex scramble to compose an urgent transmission to High Command. His own mind was spinning, replaying the horrors of that fateful first encounter. Commander, Plex's voice was tentative, like a trainee who had just discovered that their training manual didn't cover this. I've updated High Command. They want to meet in person. Xylath's antennae flared, a rare sign of irritation. In person? In person? With the humans? Yes, sir. They insist. Plex's voice shook slightly, but he kept his composure. Xylath gave him credit for that much. Well, I suppose we better go then, Xylath muttered, his claws flexing. But I can tell you now, High Command won't like what they're about to see. The hum of the ship's engines faded as they entered the intergalactic meeting zone. Through the observation window, Xylath saw the familiar sight of the humans' meeting ship, a massive space station shaped like a giant inflatable duck. No one had ever been able to confirm whether it was intentional or some bizarre artistic statement. Xylath hoped it was the latter, but deep down, he knew the humans weren't the type to do anything without a punchline. A few minutes later, they were aboard the human ship. The meeting room was a blend of chaos and organization. High-tech screens next to old pizza boxes, tangled wires, and half-drunk cups of something that might have been coffee. The humans stood around in t-shirts and cargo pants like they hadn't just made a mockery of the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. A human stepped forward. A woman, her hair in a chaotic bun, wearing a bright red shirt that said, "Don't start none, won't be none," a phrase Xylath had spent far too many cycles trying to decipher. "You must be the famous Commander Xylath," she said, grinning. "I'm Captain Maria, and this is the crew of the SS Quercus." She gestured to the group behind her, who were all too busy snacking on what appeared to be some kind of greasy disc made from cheese. Xylath's mandibles twitched. "Captain, I've heard much about your methods." "Oh, you heard all of it, huh? That's good. I like the reputation we've built. Nothing personal, just intergalactic business, right?" She laughed, slapping Xylath's tentacle in what he assumed was supposed to be a friendly gesture. It was the least friendly thing he'd ever experienced. "Your people are impossible," Xylath growled, glaring at the group around him. "You broke our fleet with ducks and glitter. You made us dance to your stupid, fortunate sun loop while you turned our warships into scrap metal. And you didn't even lose any crew." Captain Maria shrugged, as if that was the point. "Hey look, we're just a bunch of goofballs who found out that if you don't take yourself too seriously, you can win wars. And if you're going to make a mess, might as well make it fun, right?" Xylath blinked. "Fun?" That was an attack. His voice was a low hiss, the kind that indicated he was dangerously close to another breakdown. "Oh, don't get me wrong. We take our job seriously," Maria said, popping another greasy disc in her mouth. "We just don't take ourselves seriously. It's a real game changer." She leaned in closer, lowering her voice to something almost conspiratorial. "Also, have you seen their memes?" Memes?" Xylath stammered, completely out of his depth. "You'll get used to it," Maria said with a wink. "But just a warning, the more you look, the less you'll ever understand." Xylath's three eyes blinked in confusion, but before he could form a coherent response, one of the crew members, who appeared to be wearing pajamas, spoke up. "We got another fleet on the way. You guys mind if we just, invade it with glitter bombs and rickrolling?" "Rickrolling?" Xylath repeated, feeling like his neural circuits were about to fry. "What is that?" "Oh, you'll find out soon enough," Captain Maria said, clearly enjoying the confusion. "We got some ships out there just waiting for a chance to deploy it. Just don't ask how we found their weakness." "And you're telling me this?" Xylath growled, his claws twitching. "Are you mocking us?" "Mocking you? Nah, we're just preparing for the next phase." Maria winked again, as if that explained everything. You see, Commander, you all think that military might is the key to victory. But we've learned, she tapped her temple, it's all about psychological warfare. Xylath leaned forward, his mandibles clicking in frustration. What is your plan? What do you want from us? Maria chuckled. What do we want? Oh, it's simple. We want you to take a chill pill and just join the party. Seriously. Space kegger, podcast interviews, maybe some interspecies karaoke. You in? Xylath was done. His tentacles, already in tight knots, were trembling with the urge to blast something, anything, into oblivion. I think I need to report back to High Command before I... Oh, trust me, Maria said, cutting him off with a wink. They'll be joining us soon enough. We've already sent out the invite. Xylath turned to Plek, who was looking at the humans like they had just revealed they were actually all robots. Send the message. Tell High Command, whatever they think is a good idea. Don't do it. Just don't. As the crew of the SS Quercus broke into another round of laughter, Xylath realized, with terrifying clarity, why every alien commander avoids humans in war. They didn't fight to win. They fought to break everything. And they did it all while laughing. And worse, they were having way too much fun. The war room aboard the Hegemony flagship was unusually quiet. Commander Xylath sat alone at the helm, staring at the galaxy map, his mind racing. We're doomed, he muttered to himself, running a claw across his face. Absolutely doomed. The failure to conquer Earth had rattled the entire fleet. High Command had already dispatched an urgent fleet to re-attempt the invasion, but Xylath had serious doubts that they could succeed where he had so dramatically failed. And all because of the humans. It had been 2 cycles since his disastrous meeting with Captain Maria and her crew, and even though he'd returned with his report, the memory of that space kegger and the unrelenting bombardment of memes and rickrolls still haunted him. A beep from the communications console snapped Xylath from his brooding. Plek's voice crackled through the speaker. Commander, High Command is requesting a status update on the upcoming invasion of Sol 3. They're asking if the new plan will work. Xylath shot a glare at the screen, frustration bubbling to the surface. A new plan? After what happened? After ducks and glitter? Are they out of their minds? Sir, they insist. They're sending a delegation to meet with us tomorrow. They want your opinion on the next phase. Xylath's eyes narrowed. Fine, but tell them this. If they want a real chance at success, we need to prepare differently. Much differently. The next day, the Hegemony flagship was surrounded by High Command's entourage. A fleet of ships as large and imposing as the first, each one flying under banners of indomitable might. Xylath greeted them in the war room, the tension between him and the incoming admirals palpable. The highest-ranking officer, General Thrax, stood at the front, his massive armored form cutting an intimidating figure. He slammed his heavy claws on the command table, sending a ripple through the holographic galaxy map. Commander Xylath, report, he barked. We've received your report and seen your failures firsthand. You're suggesting that we need a new approach. What does that even mean? Xylath took a deep breath. You're asking the wrong question, General Thrax. It's not about strategy anymore. It's about surviving the chaos the humans will bring. You mean the chaos that lost you the war? General Thrax sneered. You expect us to bow to the whims of a bunch of primitives who throw glitter at us and play music from the ancient past? Xylath's antennae flared in irritation. You don't understand, Thrax. These aren't primitives. They're unpredictable, impossible to fight. They fight with no rules, no honor, no sense of anything you'd recognize as a traditional battle. He activated the holoprojector and showed them footage from the Battle of the Rings. We thought we had them cornered. We had them outnumbered. And then, the footage flickered to show a small human ship, a standard human vessel, flying straight at the Hegemony fleet at faster-than-light speeds. And behind it, hundreds of yellow smiley-face pods, all ejecting in rapid succession. They turned their own ships into missiles, Xylath continued, his voice hoarse with the memory. But it wasn't just the explosion. They broadcasted this. He pressed a button, and the song, Never Gonna Give You Up, blasted through the war room speakers. The assembled officers blinked, confused. General Thrax snarled, clearly unimpressed. A song? We're gonna lose this war over a song. No, Xylath snapped. It's not about the song. It's the tactic behind it. They deliberately turned their own ship into a weapon of mass destruction, and they did it with humor. Humor, Thrax. They destabilized us by making us laugh. Xylath pointed at the map. This is their strategy. Chaos, absurdity, unpredictability. The last thing you can expect from them is logic. Their tactics are insane, and it works. The officers exchanged glances. General Thrax scoffed. So you're telling us the way to defeat the humans is to embrace chaos? Xylath nodded grimly. Yes, it's the only way. They don't think like us. They don't play by any of the rules we've ever known. And if you try to fight them with conventional force, you'll end up like me. He gestured to the scarred, battered walls of the war room. Broken, humiliated, a long silence followed. Xylath could feel the weight of the general's disbelief. After a few moments, General Thrax slammed his claws onto the table again. Fine, Thrax growled. We'll attempt your ridiculous plan. But you'd better be right. Because if we lose again, Xylath, I will personally see to it that you are demoted to a janitor on the outermost mining station. The following cycle was spent preparing for the next phase of the invasion. High Command reluctantly agreed to Xylath's plan, though they insisted on maintaining traditional fleets for support. But Xylath knew better. The real battle would happen when the humans' unpredictability collided with the hegemony's order. Xylath sat in the briefing room, his claws drumming nervously on the armrest. Captain Plex stood beside him, tapping on a data pad. Commander, I'm not sure about this, Plex said, glancing at the rest of the fleet's officers. We're really going through with it? Humor? Chaos. Xylath sighed. There's no choice, Plex. They don't fight to win, they fight to break. And if we don't learn how to laugh in the face of it, we're already defeated. The holographic display flickered again, showing the hegemony fleet assembling around Earth. Xylath's thoughts were interrupted by a beep from the communication console. A message blinked on the screen, and he froze. It was from Captain Maria. Hey, Xylath. The message began, accompanied by a picture of a human holding a rubber duck with a mischievous grin. Just wanted to remind you, humans never surrender. We'll be waiting for you, buddy. Let's make this one fun. Xylath stared at the message for a long moment before he turned to Plex, his voice low and strained. We're either going to break them, or they're going to break us. Plex stared back at him, unsure. But one thing was certain. The war against humans was no longer just a fight for domination. It was a test of endurance, wit, and, as absurd as it seemed, humor. And Commander Xylath had a feeling he was about to find out just how far the human sense of humor could go. The fleet was assembled, hovering at the edge of Earth's atmosphere like a dark, brooding cloud. Every ship in the hegemony's armada had its weapons primed, shields at full strength, and the commanders all braced for what was to come. Commander Xylath sat in his war room, his claws tapping against the armrest of his chair. His thoughts churned, a mix of anticipation and dread. He had warned them, but they just had to learn the hard way. Commander, the human defense satellites are activated, Plex reported, his voice tense as the situation unfolded. We've detected several small craft moving toward the fleet. It looks like they're moving into position. Xylath's eyes narrowed. He had seen this before. The humans would launch some absurd tactic that made no sense, something ridiculous that would drive them to victory by sheer chaos alone. Keep me informed, Xylath muttered, staring at the holographic map. Every sensor in his ship was on alert. Ready the fleet. Moments later, the war room was filled with a loud beep, the kind of sound that makes you sit up straighter. The holographic map shifted, and a new set of readings appeared. Several ships were coming closer, but there was something odd about them. They weren't sleek like hegemony vessels. No, these looked off. Plex, what are we looking at here? Xylath's voice was a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The hologram zoomed in to reveal several human ships, but they looked more like space trucks, rusted, patched with tape, covered in strange decals, and adorned with some kind of glaringly ridiculous flag that looked like it had been scribbled by a toddler. There were some brightly colored lights flashing along the hulls. And in the middle of the lead ship was an enormous banner that read, "Welcome to Earth. You're gonna love it here." Are those space barges? Plek asked, his voice almost incredulous. What are they doing? Xylath stood up, his tentacles curling in frustration. Whatever it is, I don't like it. The ships were moving slowly toward the hegemony fleet now, and Xylath could feel his pulse quicken. He activated a direct feed to the front lines to hear what was happening. The comm crackled, and a voice came through. It was high-pitched, like someone with far too much enthusiasm. Hey there, big guys. A human's voice boomed from the comm. We're just here for a good time. No biggie. Just thought you might want to join us for a little game. Xylath blinked. Game? Before he could process this, the display switched, and a strange scene unfolded. In front of the hegemony fleet, the humans' lead vessel opened its hatch, revealing several figures wearing bright Hawaiian shirts, sunglasses, and holding large cups. The camera zoomed in on the leader of the human group, Captain Maria herself, with a goofy grin on her face. We thought we'd introduce you to a little thing called beer pong, she shouted, throwing a ping-pong ball through the air as if challenging them. You guys do play games, right? Xylath could feel a strange, slow-burning rage building in his chest. Was this a game? Were they mocking him? The audacity. The disrespect. I don't understand, Plek muttered, bewildered. This can't be real. How are they so confident? They're insane, Xylath hissed, his eyes darting to the console. What are they doing now? The humans were now deploying what appeared to be a large, inflatable structure. It was shaped like a giant inflatable duck, its massive yellow form hovering in the middle of space, clearly visible from the hegemony flagship. Seriously? Xylath muttered. Are they seriously sending a duck into space? Just then, another transmission came in, and the speakers began blasting something familiar, a song. We Are Family by Sister Sledge. The humans were sending their own ships through the fleet, but this time, it wasn't missiles or energy weapons. No, it was dancing. Yes, you heard right, Xylath said, almost too stunned to continue. They're dancing. A full-on choreographed routine. They're flipping through space in formation like it's some kind of party. The fleet officers all stared at the screen in complete disbelief. It was as though they had been transported into a completely different universe. One where there was no logic, no structure, and absolutely no sense of control. Xylath slammed his claw onto the console. Call all ships to battle stations. This is not a drill. Prepare for. Before he could finish, a message interrupted him. It was another video. This time, it was an image of a cat in a tiny space helmet. Hey, aliens, send nudes? Xylath just stared at it. It wasn't even the most absurd thing they had done so far, but it felt like a new level of humiliation. This is how they fight? Plek asked, eyes wide. With memes? Cat videos? What are they playing at? Xylath gritted his teeth. It's not the videos, it's the mind games, Plek. They've completely lost all sense of boundaries. They're trying to make us break. And it's working. A low rumble shook the flagship. A sudden pulse of energy shot through their fleet's shields. Xylath's eyes narrowed. No, he said, voice low. They can't be serious. What now? From the lead human ship, a single ball of energy was launched directly into space, hovering like a harmless orb. Suddenly, a wave of data flooded into their communication channels, and the ship's speakers crackled with a voice. We're going to need you to sign a waiver before you engage in battle, the human voice said, in a completely deadpan tone. The aliens here are required to agree to terms and conditions before we go further. Please press I agree to continue. Xylath stared at the message, then at the faces of his officers. A couple of them looked like they might be laughing, which only made the situation more frustrating. No! Xylath bellowed, as the reality of it hit him like a thunderclap. This is war, not a sign-up page. We'll never win this way. But then a laugh, a sound so alien and out of place. It came from Plek, whose tentacles twitched. Commander, he said, eyes bright with something akin to terror or exhilaration. I think we might have lost already. And the humans, they know it. Xylath slammed his fist onto the console in frustration. But deep down, he knew the truth. They hadn't just lost a battle. They'd lost to the humans. And as he stared at the dancing ships and the floating ducks, he couldn't help but wonder if their real weapon was never their firepower. It was their ability to make everyone question what war was really all about. The war room was silent as Commander Xylath paced back and forth, his claws clicking against the cold metal floor. He had spent hours reviewing every bit of footage from the previous encounter, every meme, every bizarre tactic, try to make sense of the impossible. But there was no sense to be found. "Commander," Plek's voice broke the silence. "We've just received a new transmission from the humans. It's strange." Xylath stopped pacing. "Strange? How? What now?" Plek's tentacles quivered nervously as he activated the communication feed. The screen flickered and settled into a transmission that was completely different. Gone were the ducks, gone were the memes, the goofy cat videos. What was on the screen now was something that made Xylath's heart skip a beat. An invitation. The transmission began with a stern-looking human in military uniform. Not the playful, chaotic energy they had come to expect, but someone who looked disturbingly calm. "Greetings, Hegemony Commander," the human said, his voice steady and authoritative. "I am General Maria Rodriguez of the United Earth Forces. We'd like to extend an invitation to you and your fleet for a ceasefire negotiation. We understand that the previous engagements may have caused some confusion." Xylath blinked. Negotiation? This was the same species that had once blasted their music at him on full volume and sent rubber ducks into battle. "Are you serious?" Xylath growled. "This is some sort of trap, isn't it?" The human continued, completely unfazed. "It's not a trap, Commander. It's just a game. A different kind of game." Xylath's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about now?" The human grinned. "We propose a challenge, the ultimate Galactic Showdown. If you win, we'll withdraw. If we win, you'll agree to a truce and leave our systems alone for good." Xylath wasn't sure whether to laugh or scream. He motioned for the transmission to continue, though he had a feeling that no matter what came next, it was going to be insane. The screen switched to a list of rules. The ultimate Galactic Showdown. Round 1. Space football. You must get the most points by throwing your spacecraft through a floating goalpost made entirely of cheese. Round 2. Dance battle. Your best ship crew must engage in a synchronized dance-off against Earth's finest. Round 3. Food fight. We'll send a cargo ship full of Earth's most unusual foods. You must toss them at your opponent's ship and try to knock out their shields using only food-related projectiles. Round 4. Intergalactic trivia. Our humans will answer questions about the universe's history. Your fleet gets to ask questions too. No Google allowed. Xylath's mandibles twitched with fury. "This is preposterous. You cannot be serious. You want to negotiate over a game?" The human's face didn't waver. "We find that our victories are much more satisfying when we've earned them, Commander. So, what will it be? Game on?" There was a long pause. Xylath's mind raced. Every fiber of his being screamed to turn away from this absurdity. But then something twisted deep inside him. The humans had a knack for getting under their enemy's skin, manipulating them in ways that made no sense. And deep down, he knew one thing above all. The humans had already won. If they could make him consider this, then they'd already succeeded in showing their superiority. The screen blinked, and General Rodriguez's voice came again. "The clock's ticking, Commander. We're waiting." Xylath exhaled sharply, his tentacles flexing as he contemplated the offer. Finally, his resolve hardened. "Fine," he spat. "We'll play your game." The humans beamed. "Excellent. We'll send our fleet coordinates. Prepare yourself, Commander. You're going to need all the luck you can get. The ultimate Galactic Showdown. The battle of wits and chaos." Xylath's flagship drifted into the arena. A massive, open space near Jupiter's moons, transformed into a colossal battlefield with floating goalposts, massive screens, and strange, surreal obstacles. A portion of their fleet was already arrayed in the distance, ready for the game. The stakes were high. If they won, the humans would retreat. But Xylath knew the odds were against them. They hadn't faced humans in real combat. And this nonsense was no different. Round 1. Space football. Xylath's heart sank as the rules were explained. Each ship would have to hurl its craft through enormous goalposts suspended in space. There was a catch. The goalposts were floating inside a massive cloud of cheese. The strategy? Use the cheese to block their opponent's shots and attempt to score. As the game began, the fleet launched into action. Ships rocketed through the air, swerving through the floating chunks of cheese, trying to dodge incoming fire. And the humans? They were throwing pizza at them. Pizza? Xylath screamed. Why is there pizza in space? It wasn't just any pizza. The humans had perfected the art of space pizza warfare. They threw slices with expert precision, using cheese to knock out their opponent's sensors. And when it wasn't pizza, it was entire barrels of sauce, flung straight at their hulls. The hegemony fleet, unable to counter such a strange assault, was left scrambling to defend itself. The humans scored again and again. Round 2, Dance Battle. As humiliating as the space football was, this next round was an outright slap to their dignity. The hegemony was called upon to perform synchronized dance routines. Xylath couldn't even begin to describe the nightmare unfolding before him as his crew struggled to follow the strange human choreography. Meanwhile, the human fleet's ships twisted and twirled in flawless motion, their crew executing moves with the kind of precision that made Xylath feel like he was in a nightmare. Somehow, the humans had managed to choreograph their ships as well, spinning in impossible patterns through space, all while blasting dance music through every frequency. Round 3, Food Fight. Now this was just ridiculous. Floating crates of bizarre Earth foods, hot dogs, pies, mashed potatoes, and the most terrifying of all, Jell-O, were launched into space, and the objective was clear: knock out your opponent's shields with food. The hegemony fleet, highly disciplined and strategic, had never faced a battle like this. They tried using their advanced weaponry to stop the food, but the Jell-O, defying every known law of physics, pulsed with a sticky, mind-boggling force, disabling several ships in the process. Round 4, Intergalactic Trivia. Xylath was furious. The humans were making mockery of everything he had fought for. But this was the final round. The humans may have had their wits, but Xylath had knowledge on his side. Or so he thought. Question 1. What is the approximate mass of the Sun? The human voice echoed across the arena. Xylath was about to answer when another voice chimed in. Wait, that's too easy. And before he could process, the humans started throwing random, nonsensical questions about Earth's pop culture, about some weird thing called TikTok, and then a question about a mythical creature named Bigfoot. The hegemony failed miserably. As the final bell rang, the scoreboard flashed. Humans 4, hegemony 0. Xylath stood at the center of the arena, defeated. His entire fleet was in disarray. The humans had used humor, creativity, and chaos to outsmart them at every turn. General Rodriguez's voice came over the comm, once again calm and unwavering. Well, Commander, it seems you've lost. But don't worry, there's always next time. Let's call this a learning experience. Xylath dropped his head. How did they do it?